Hello all, very good afternoon. We shall be starting in next 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you everyone. Hello all, a very good afternoon. Before I start, I just want to know if I'm audible.
Yes, Ekta, you're very much audible.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So hello all, a very good afternoon. Myself, Ekta Dubey, and on behalf of the Brinalytics team and our partner eCubix and Aviva, we welcome you all on a very interesting roundtable, which is Embrace Full Potential of Digitization of Processes in MMM industry, that's mining, minerals, and metal industry. Excuse me, can I request somebody to be on the mute, please? Yeah. So before I start the roundtable, I would really like to highlight few guidelines and request our audience to please adhere to. Requesting all the attendees to be on mute when the speakers are taking the session. We shall be opening up for the Q&A after the roundtable discussions, where the attendees can ask the questions, if any, to the respective speakers. The guidelines are you need to raise your hands, unmute yourself, introduce yourself, your company, and ask your question to the concerned speaker. So before I start, I'm happy to introduce our partner, eCubix. A partner, eCubix, owned by Value Chain Solution India Private Limited. eCubix provides smart solution for business transformation in the area of manufacturing, supply chain, sales, and infrastructure services. Their solution offers digital enterprise, industrial IoT, data science, and analytics to clients worldwide, process efficiency, and real time actionable insights to optimize and transform your business. Now, before I move on, I would now like to invite Mr. Anup Garg, who handles Marcom or Value Chain Solutions India Private Limited. Thank you, Mr. Anup, for joining us. Over to you.
Yeah. I'm audible, Ekta?
Yes, you are very clear.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, I welcome everyone to this roundtable. We conduct these roundtables very often, and we do it on an industrial level scale. Introducing eCubix, I would like to say that eCubix is a global provider of digitally intelligent solutions. These includes real-time monitoring and analytics, IoT integration, edge analytics, predictive analytics using AI and ML. eCubix generally approaches to engage with clients in efficiency, creating opportunity assessment, calculating the value of improvement, building of business blueprint, delivering required hardware, software, and services, including support, to ensure that improvement initiative is successfully implemented. So, we are a rare end-to-end solution creator and an implementer for any kind of a digitization. Also, in cases where data lake exists, so in many companies, you have already have a data lake and a lot of data is coming. Now, what do you do with that data? So in such cases, we help using event frames, displays, alert notifications, and make interactive dashboards facilitating database efficiency related decisions impacting OE and profitability directly. Right? Ekta, please start the introduction video, our corporate video.
Yeah. Give me a moment. I will.
eCubix, the growth catalyst in your digital transformation journey, tuned to the pulse of the digital future. We drive innovation with the digital technology ecosystem. From a humble beginning in 2006, we have transformed eCubix as one of the top industry 4.0 solution providers. We are now serving clients in 15 plus countries. We are a CMMI Level 3 certified company, serving 100,000 plus users with a strong team of 200 plus technocrats. So far, industry has achieved more than $350 million saving from eCubix products and services, and the same is still counting. Our presence is in industries like cement, agrochemical, pharmaceutical, pulp and paper, minerals and metals, ports, oil and gas, power. eCubix is organized in 4 strategic business units, each focusing on different area of an enterprise. Smart Factory to improve production process and asset performance. Smart Supply Chain for better fleet management. Smart Channel for brand protection through genealogy and serialization, and Smart Sales for field activity management. eCubix brings global best products to solve industry problems through strategic business partnerships with world leaders like OSI Soft, now Aviva, Seek, Waterfall, Sato, Microsoft. eCubix is your growth catalyst for digital age technologies.
Yes, Mr. Anup.
Yeah, Anup, you are there?
Yeah, Ekta, we should now call Mr.
Okay,
Varun on
sure.
Yeah.
So now I would like to invite Mr. Varun Verma, Asset Performance Management Specialist at Aviva, to share some strategic insights on the subject. Thank you, Mr. Varun, for joining us. Over to you.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening from anywhere of the world you're joining. Thank you for being with us today. My name is Varun Verma, and I am responsible for leading the asset performance management business in Aviva for the entire Asia Pacific region. Today, I'm here to talk to you about how we can embrace the potential of digitization in MMM industry, and one of the key factors for that is how you can look at asset performance trends in the MMM industry. Before I start, can I just check if you can hear me okay and see my slides properly?
Yes, Varun, all clear.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, firstly, I thought I would start off with some industry challenges. And to be honest, the MMM industry is going through a big transformation. And I'm not talking about technology transformation, but to how they are doing business, right? They are trying to balance performance, energy use, safety, and ensure that they drive profitability. So we have seen that the commodity prices are fluctuating with emerging markets are still growing, and it poses significant challenges for companies as cycles are now changing faster and are very unpredictable. In the US mining industry itself, we have seen that 50% of the total operation cost is going to manage and replace your underperforming assets. There are more and more pressures that is coming from safety and environmental regulation perspective, and we are seeing that the cost of non-conformance is pretty high and can attract regulatory scrutiny and damage your reputation with your consumers as well. And a very interesting insight came from capital intensity perspective, where according to Gartner, the MMM industry loses $5,600 per minute, again, per minute, due to asset failure downtime. So if you look at it, these are huge numbers, very big challenges. And that's why I said the industry leaders must find a way to address all these challenges more profitably, more sustainably, and ensuring safety as its top priority. So if I divide that capital intensity pressure, I can categorize it into three categories, right? Number one is asset failure risk, where we have seen that 82% of the asset failures are random. And this is based on a survey that was done by Forbes. Now there's another survey which says that a typical mining venture spends 50% of its annual operating budget on equipment maintenance and repair. 50% of your budget. There's a third survey which says 17.7 machine-related fatal injuries happened per 100,000 workers in 2017. This has to be your priority now, because it is impacting your cost, it is impacting your risk, it is impacting your safety. So all the industry leaders are now looking at finding how do I gain maximum profitability without compromising on risk and at the same time reducing our costs, right? Now, I thought of introducing to you a survey that was done by McKinsey, which spoke about some of the potential use cases where there's a largest opportunity of improvement or largest opportunity of gaining value in the industry. Look at maintenance, right? Predictive maintenance strategies, digitizing your maintenance planning, digitally enabling work maintenance execution, very high priority opportunities to work on. Even if you look beyond maintenance, right, we are looking at an integrated operations center, which will give you a lot of value. Setting up a center of excellence to analyze your data, have an end-to-end process design, pit to port supply chain. There are so many strong use cases to start off, because a lot of you business leaders always ask me, I want to do transformation, right? But where do I start, right? So I thought I'll put it out for you. These are the top 15 use cases where you need to work on in terms of digital transformation, right? And predictive maintenance has been identified as one of the top priorities, with 48% people saying it's must have to be done, right? So these are some of the things that you're seeing in terms of return on investment, in terms of avoidance, And they have identified predictive maintenance something as a #1 priority for your investments. And why is that? Because 82% of the failures are random. $6,500 per minute is the loss that you're making that you can save with a predictive maintenance technology. So in the new normal, based on the World Economic Forum, it has been said that digital technology can accelerate value creation, reduce costs by 5 to 30%, and grow your revenue by up to 25%, right? And we are talking about a fast and scalable solution, bringing in more collaboration with end users, looking at the same data so that you make data-driven decisions and ensure that all your environment is secure and available, because cybersecurity can be a big threat, right? So I thought I will lay it out for you a framework for digital transformation in the MMM industry, right? Because it is so evolving, there are so many changes happening, right? I think the first 3 steps is, the step 1 is actually digitization, right? Moving away from paper systems to paperless, right? Digitizing all your records, digitizing all your reports, digitizing all the field operator information that you're having, right? So that's step 1. Step 2 is move that towards digitalization, right? Using digital systems, right? Like a mobile device to capture your field data, right? Or ensuring that you are able to track your maintenance procedures properly, right? That then leads to a transformation where you are changing your work process, right? Where you're changing how you want to do business, how you operate as a team, how you operate as a group, right? But there is a next layer to it, right? A lot of times we are seeing in the MMM industry that people want to go towards digital transformation, but they are only so stuck with pilots. They want to do pilot, they want to evaluate pilots, and then after pilot, it kind of fizzles out, right? So one of the things that we have a recommendation, and we are seeing that some mature customers are doing, is acceleration. If you have proven a case, or if you have seen that other industry players are utilizing that case, deploy it, accelerate it, and scale it, right? Because the next level of this maturity is digital sustenance. Whatever you're deploying, it should not be that after 6 months, you go back to your old way of working, right? You don't go back to paper again. You have to sustain this change. You have to sustain that this is going to impact my day-to-day work process. And that's why a lot of people say, right, digital transformation needs to flow from top. This is because everybody needs to acknowledge and appreciate that the new way of working is going to be supported by your digital solutions, right? And the last thing which I like to call is digital agility. This is very important because technology is evolving so fast, right? You have to be on your foot, that while you are accelerating your use cases and trying to sustain that, you have to constantly look for new emerging trends that can impact your use cases and your operations as well in a big way. So I think there are people who say digitization, digital transformation, digitalization and digital transformation, but I think you need to also think about acceleration, sustaining, and being agile to incorporate the new things and technologies that are coming in the market. So in the end, all this is really able to set up for you what I call as a collaboration innovation or a reliability digital twin, where people from engineering, operations, maintenance, reliability, IT, all of them come together, have a full view of how your assets are performing, have a true representation of how your digital twin is, right? And then look at that data to make an informed decision, right? That is the end game. That is the outcome that you should be moving towards. Eliminate all the silos. Look at data as something that governs. And I know a lot of you can come back to me and say, hey, my data is bad. How do I fix it? But my only point to you is you need to start somewhere to reach somewhere. And over a period of time, it will constantly start getting improved as you embark on the journey of digitization, digitizing your data, and digitalization. So I thought I will put out to you some case studies, right? And this is Nexa Resources in Brazil. A very interesting thing that I told you in the beginning, right? People are so hell-bent on doing POCs. 11 predictive POCs failed, right? But then they started working with Aviva and we started bundling their data infrastructure, which is the PI system, and using our predictive analytics system. They had 75% reduction on unscheduled downtime, thereby also improving their reliability and reduce the need for emergency maintenance repair, right? And this is a a note from the general manager, achieved ROI of 300% within a few months. The value is huge, right? Here is another customer in your MMM industry, Votorantim, which is a cement player, right? Again, they did a benchmark and they found that in the reliability space, they were 10 years behind, right? So they started off doing a pilot and they found that in the pilot itself, they got a 1:19 ROI. From 60 assets, they have rolled out to 900 assets across 14 plants. And they have already got savings of $4.7 million, which is not including production losses, right? And I'm talking about 14 sites, 24 production lines, 600 assets in less than 1 year time frame. So now you see why companies are looking at predictive analytics as one of those use cases where there's so much quick return on investment that you start saving money and start getting into a profitable zone. And here is another one of the top mining companies in the world, right? I cannot name it, but they have gone ahead and in this first 6 months, SAG mill motor failure, cost avoidance, $12 million. Look at the amount, right? They deployed predictive analytics. They were reducing the manual inspection time. They deployed 327 equipment across 8 plants for 3 years. So what I'm trying to come to in summary is digital is there to enable your use cases, your business problems, right? You have to start from what your business problem is. And that's why I showed you some of the use cases that can be targeted towards your business problem. You have to look at it and you have to move away from only doing pilots. You have to start going into deployment and acceleration and sustenance mode to have a maximum return on investment, right? You cannot only be doing pilots and expecting that to have a substantial impact, right? And at the same time, you have to go ahead and understand that everything that you're doing is looking at it from improving your safety, reliability, sustainability, and profitability in totality. So earlier, the question used to be, should I focus about our planet or profits? But I'm very pleased to say it's no longer that anymore, right? The all is gone. You can focus on the planet and sustainability and still look at profits with things like asset performance management. With that, I thank you for your time. And is there any questions that I may try to answer?
Thank you, Varun, for sharing your insights. Any questions from the audience? We would love to take it. Or you can also put your questions in the chat box. Varun can address there itself.
A very interesting presentation by Varun, and thank you very much to give an insight into this entire subject. My name is Sanjeev Das, and obviously the introduction is there. But there are a couple of challenges. I saw this entire presentation that you're making, but the presentation is talking about industry specific, but it doesn't really talk about mining and whether it is an open cast mine, whether it's a strip mine, whether it's underground mine, what is the process transformation that you have gone through.
Yes.
How have you introduced it? What is the preventive maintenance can be applicable to any industry? What is so specific about mining industry? And let me tell you something on that.
Good.
I'm sure you have all the experience of mining industry, whether it is in India or abroad, and that makes me think and find out the issues that actually govern mining industry in a nutshell. Fundamentally, as a history of mining, whether it is in India or in the mining rich place like Africa, it was a very conventional mining. It was rat hole mining, it was well mining, and it was different type of mining, which is very conventional. Today, we are talking of very efficient systems, whether it is mining technology by itself or adoption of procedures to block those gaps, which means to understand where the theory of constraint applies in this particular case of mining, where my losses are, we use. Like the example you gave about predictive mining, predictive maintenance, and that is how machine downtime and all that. The bigger question that happens today, and let me put this question, and it's not a question, I'm putting it to everybody who is listening on this platform. Say, what is happening is, we all have resources, we are all doing auctions, and we are all have to cough out a lot of money on the premium in India. Resource allocation, whether it is manpower or it is machines, becomes a very efficient determining factor.
Correct.
Fundamentally, because the balancing of equipments, either an excavator or a JCB or a dumper, and the balancing and the lead and the heights of each bench governs a lot of factors which can make your costing go haywire. I mean, you have to sit typically with your logbooks and keep on working out how much is it that is going to save. That's number one. Number two, that's an open cost map. Number two is, my perception is, like the safety features you have said, the external capital investment that you have to make for safety, regulations, and those kind of impositions that the Ministry of Environment Forest does, or for that matter, the state government does, and so does the Central Groundwater Board does, and all that. So you have to put in a lot of equipments in place and keep monitoring that. That is number two. Number three, especially with an underground mining in India, which is now going to be more and more prevalent. And I'm not talking of only non-metallic mines like coal. I'm also talking of metallic mines like chromite or like all that, where mostly it is now going underground. The vibrations, the risk factor, the movement of LPDT, the movement of LHD, the human beings going inside the mine up to about 1,000 meters from the ground level is a huge risk factor.
Correct.
Now, having understood that and the gravity of such situation, with vibrations governing you every time and again, and your worry that when would the roof fall, that everybody has started to do digitization. Okay, we have also discussed with a lot of experts, from experts who have left Indian Army and have started their own systems. They're also giving us ideas, but it doesn't work. I would like to know, how do you do that? That's number one. Number three is, you see, the other factor that governs in underground is air velocity, pollution's level, and things like that. Now you have a vent sim. Somebody who is the owner of the mines or is a manager of the mines sitting outside somewhere, not knowing that about 1,000 people are already inside the mines. He doesn't have any idea that the oxygen level suddenly has depleted. By the time the reaction time is so low that it will be very difficult for anybody traveling and traversing this entire distance to save and protect the entire people. Forget about machineries. There are issues which actually typically concern us. Apart from all this, which is technically required, where you imagine that I wish I had a remote moving LHD or LPDT which goes around the, and picks up the material. We would also like to have a continuous monitoring of compliances. Huge number of compliances. There are huge laws which is governing in this mining sector, unlike an industry. So reminders, monitoring, there's like we have the SAP system for all this. If we could have something like that, that is how I look. And this would not be universal or universally applicable for all kinds of mines. It's not generalized. So, for example, a mountaintop recovery or removal, or a kind of high wall mining, or metallic mines versus non-metallic mines, entire applications, everything is different. So that is all I wanted to throw my mind on. And how do you see and what you can offer?
Sanjeevji, thank you so much. Right, at least I'm very happy that one person listened to my presentation. I don't know about the others, but thank you so much for your attention to the topic. So, sir, absolutely right. I do not refute anything you're saying, and I did try to generalize MMM together. All of them are very, very different. But the idea was, at a high level, I was approaching it from a problem that equipment is an equipment, whether an equipment you use in the metal, on the mining, or in the mineral space, how you're maintaining your equipment, because that's where the benefit is immediate. Now, the challenges that you are saying are all there, right? I am not saying I have answer to those challenges, right? I will just say two things. One of the things, and I have worked with some of the mining companies in South Africa as well, with Sasol and others, right? They have gone ahead and so the learning that I took out when I worked with somebody like Sasol, which is a very big mining company in South Africa, is that it all needs to be connected, right? And I call it 5 pillars of success. One is called connected asset, where you have all the sensors in place to look at how your asset is performing, how your equipment is behaving, all those things, right? Next is called connected worker.
Yeah.
Looking at with the smart hats, the smart goggles, something that is able to measure, let's say, the drop in oxygen levels or the performance of the worker level, right? Next is called connected strategy. Now, not every time you need to repair. Sometimes it is easier to replace. And like you said, resource allocation, right? Why your resources are limited in terms of machines, in terms of manpower. How do you allocate that from a strategy perspective to have a maximum benefit? Fourth is called connected content. How do you go ahead and replicate the learnings from one mind to another? And the last is called connected visualization. How, like you rightly said, somebody has a connected view of everything, like your manager sitting far away, what is going on with the sensors in front of everything all together, right? I must tell you that while we do part of it, and I'm not going to make this a sales pitch, your point is absolutely right. And I'm very pleased to say that there are a lot of startups who are getting into this AI space and who are making solutions very, very specific to these use cases. Like one of the example you said, a human has to go, let's say 1,000 meters down, go there, right? How to do that tracking, how to have a nearby environment tracking to ensure what exactly is going to, when exactly is going to fall or what is going to happen. There are a lot of use cases that is starting off or being built on it. My whole point is all these use cases are only possible if you embark on a digitization journey. You have to be able to measure it. If you cannot measure it, we can talk about this conventional way of working next 25 years as well.
Till
And
the
the
cows
problem is
return
going to
home.
be the same thing, right?
Yeah, till the cows return home, we can only debate it.
Yeah.
But
And that becomes a very, very, and what I'm seeing, sir, is that is becoming a very debatable thing, even from a management perspective. Like people are asking, where should I invest my money? I have so much to do from a compliance perspective. I have to maintain so many things. My profitability is shrinking. Where do I go ahead and invest? I think this is something you need to start considering. No one vendor, and I will be very honest and tell you, no one vendor is going to give you answer to all your problems.
absolutely, I
This
agree.
is not going to happen. But we have to look at those use cases and figure out what needs to happen.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you for answering that. I'll just take a break for 10 minutes because I have something else coming up. Then I'll come back.
Please. Look
Yes.
forward to it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Sanju, for sharing your insights. And thank you, Varun, for the lovely presentation.
Thank you.
Now moving to the next speaker, where he will be also sharing some interesting insights, is Mr. Pradeep Kashyap, Principal Pre-Sales Consultant with Aviva. Over to you, Mr. Pradeep, and thank you once again for joining us.
Yep. Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Just give me a second. I'll just share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So thanks, Varun. Thanks for the introduction. It was very, very insightful, actually. So I'll just start from where Varun has left. I just wanted to start the entire discussion with this particular number. 82% of the failures that we are seeing are basically categorized as random failures. So again, just stepping back a bit, and the presentation, the way the presentation is structured is to focus predominantly on asset reliability. So just in the interest of time, I have not included other offerings like mobile operator and the capabilities that brings onto the table. I've just restricted my presentation on how is predictive analytics and how is asset reliability being addressed using our product. So that's how it is structured. So I'll just quickly go back to that point of 82% of the failures are being categorized as random failures. Why is it so? Predominantly, when we look at data of multiple industries and specifically M&M industries, what we see is they're categorized as random primarily for 2-3 reasons. One, the exact root cause of the problem is not known. The second is we don't get access to the data which actually matters a lot. We don't know what kind of a failure mode it is, what kind of a parameter is being monitored. So it is predominantly lack of data, because of which these failures are getting classified as random failures. And what we aim and what we emphasize to move in the direction in which we want to move is start moving away from reactive maintenance to slowly predictive and subsequently to risk-based maintenance. I'll just move deeper into what we are trying to do at a very, very broad level. What we are trying to do here is to get into a point which is optimum, where our cost of maintenance and our cost of maintenance was our cost of failure is at an optimum point. So we can do over maintenance and reduce cost of failure. That's one choice. The second choice is we reduce our maintenance cost and increase cost of failure. So what we are trying or aiming to bring is that optimum point where the cost of maintenance versus cost of failure is at its optimum level. And I'll tell you how are we trying to achieve it. So when we look at this graph, so this is how it looks when an historian data, when we have a historian like a PI or a eDNA kind of a historian, when we are plotting a graph generated from an historian into a, when we are plotting it, this is how it looks. There are a lot of data in this graph, one signal overlapped on other. But the problem is it becomes very, very challenging for an engineer to analyze what is the correlation between various signals. Is there any deviation from the standard operating procedure? Is it under the acceptable limit? Is it crossing the acceptable limit? These kind of insights for an expert it's achievable, but it takes a lot of time. So the methodology that we adopt or we prefer to adopt is predominantly to the right of the presentation. I'll just get a pointer here. Just give me a second. So this is a pattern that we follow. What we do is we calculate something called overall module residual, which means we given the operating context of that particular equipment or that particular asset, we develop a pattern which says if everything is going well, this is how the equipment behaves, and this is how the equipment parameters have to look like. And if there is any deviation from the standard operating procedures, even if the deviation is much below the alarm level which is set in a DCS or a SCADA system, the system is capable of picking up that signal and showing it to our expert, saying that, boss, we are seeing that there is a deviation in the parameter and this is what is contributing to that deviation. So I'll talk more about this when I'm going into the slides in particular. So if I have to talk the language of reliability, and if I have to say if there is a potential failure and if there is an actual failure, if I have to plot a small graph which says the performance of the equipment has to be at this level, and if the performance started deteriorating where then potential failure has just creeped into the system is capable of picking up that signal where the potential failure has just creeped in, and it can give us a lot of time to analyze, understand what kind of failure are we heading towards, and develop a strategy towards it, and also address the failure before it actually fails. So that's what we are trying to do here. Broadly, again, we're talking about 3 layers. Layer 1, where we get the normal operating context of an equipment. What is a healthy operating context of an equipment? We develop a data-driven model on standard operating conditions. What kind of parameters? What are the parameters which have a correlation with the performance of the equipment? How are they normally behaving? What kind of a deviation is acceptable? What kind of a deviation is not acceptable? So basically, we are training the model. We are actually capturing the healthy operating context of an equipment. At a later stage, we are also trying to identify and attribute what kind of a deviation is attributable to what kind of a failure mode. And if this failure mode is coming up, what kind of a action is preferred? And on top of it, what we are also trying to develop is to understand, now that the failure has happened, or if the failure has already happened and the potential failure is already crept into the system, how much life do the system has? Will it work for another 1 week, 10 days, 1 month, 15 months? How long can I sustain with this failure? Is it increasing? Is the rate of failure increasing over a period of time? Is it constant? These kind of analytics are possible. So I'll get into every layer when we are moving ahead. So this is how a normal dashboard landing screen looks like. We can say that what kind of projects are there, what kind of assets are being monitored, what kind of sensors are being monitored, what kind of cases, what kind of anomalies are identified, what kind of systems are being monitored. So this was what I was talking about when I was speaking about OMR. So basically, when you look at this graph here, so when we say this is a normal operating context of an equipment, these are the, if I say, if it is a vibration sensor, we say that, boss, this is a range in which a vibration of this particular equipment under normal operating context without any failure in that or potential failure in the system has to be. So, and this is a alarm level, and this is where the trip is happening. At this juncture, we calculate something called overall model residual. So overall model residual at a very broad level is the deviation from the standard operating context. And again, is the deviation. So here we are able to see that there is some deviation. There is some deviation happening from the normal operating context, while it is still not reached the alarm level or trip level. The signal is able to the system is able to pick and understand that there is an upward graph, and we identify that what is happening in that particular system. And this visibility of deviation from parameters, we have seen that there's a lot of value which derives out of this. And apart from this, when you see that the OMR, overall model residual, is going up, we can also dig deeper and understand what kind of a sensor, what kind of a parameter is contributing to this deviation. Is it primarily because of example, lack of lubrication? Is it primarily because of misalignment? What kind of a sensor? Is it high temperature? What kind of a sensor is contributing to maximum deviation from the standard operating parameters? Not just that, if you see that there is one particular process parameter which is deviating and which is contributing to a major extent on OMR, we can also dig deeper and understand what kind of a failure mode is linked to it. Is it what kind of a failure mode, and which actual component is it? Is it a driven side bearing, or is it a non-driven side bearing? And if it is a driven side bearing, what kind of a failure mode is expected out of this? These kind of insights at a very fast pace is possible, unlike a standard pattern recognition methodology. So again, I have already covered this. So when we look at a particular component, we can also see what kind of a failure mode is being talked about, and what are the next steps that we can consider exploring. So this insight to an operator, this insight to a maintenance crew guy is actually catalyzing the entire process and is facilitating him to fastly deploy resources, fastly deploy inventory, fastly define spares, so that it is addressed. So again, the other thing that I particularly wanted to emphasize, and I have seen a lot of value in this particular case, is calculating the remaining life of the equipment. When I say remaining life of the equipment, there are some situations where we have a deviation from the operating context, and we understand that there is probably some failure which has crept into the system. But we don't actually, what we cannot do because of commercial constraints is take out the system and take a hit on the production capability of the system. So we just want it again at a very, very senior level, where management wants to understand what happens if I'm not taking this equipment out for maintenance. Can I run it till the next scheduled maintenance, which is maybe a month away or 45 days away? So the system also has the capability of projecting the time left before the failure actually happens. And we have seen, I'll particularly talk about a use case in this scenario. So we have seen a lot of appreciation for this particular capability when it comes about our product in predictive analytics. So I've covered this. I'll not talk more on this. Again, the other part of predictive analytics is it's not just about developing an algorithm. While algorithm is very, very important, I don't deny that fact. But what is also important is to have the capability of deploying that algorithm at a wider range, deploying it faster, and templatizing the entire process and shifting it from one equipment to the other, and at least copy pasting the algorithms or the models across the similar assets. That's one part of the story. The second part of the story is also about managing the workflow. So if there is a deviation, and if there is a central command center sitting somewhere hundreds of kilometers away from the mine or the factory, so first of all, who is going to remotely monitor these equipments? What happens if an anomaly is found? Who has to be informed? What kind of an action is expected out of the person who is informed? And what kind of a response is expected? And what is the time it is required? All this kind of workflow standardization, which actually yields a lot of value, is also possible. There are a lot of features about it, and we can also say that whether we want to do it while the equipment is running, we don't want to do it while the equipment is running, we want to inform some condition monitoring person to just check whether the indication given by the system is correct or not. All these are possible. All these are the features that we see people use very widely. I'll just skip this fastly. Again, apart from this, there is another angle to it. See, what we have been observing across industries is the pace at which the workforce is changing at multiple industries. So the other challenge and majority of failures are sometimes attributable to a lack of knowledge of the person who is sitting at site. So while he knows what to do at a broader level, he might not be equipped enough to understand how should it be dealt and what kind of a action is needed so that the production loss doesn't happen. So there's a completely different perspective of the entire story, which talks about what kind of a facilitation that we can offer when it comes about knowledge transfer. If there is a senior expert who wants to transfer the knowledge to an young engineer who has just come into the system, without digital intervention, we have seen that it might take a lot of time, and the visualization, the pace at which they will pick up the knowledge will take a lot of time if proper documentation, proper data capturing doesn't happen. So even transferring knowledge to the next generation or transferring knowledge across the organization is also fastly done using this kind of products. So that's one. I'll not emphasize more on this because Varun has already done it. So I don't want to talk again and say that these are the benefits that we have seen. The only point that I wanted to emphasize is it is Varun was completely right when he was telling it. If we have to traverse this path, we will have to start somewhere. And the first step is to start capturing data digitally and moving away from paper logs. That's absolutely a no-go there. I just thought I'll touch upon few of the cases that we have seen, few of the good catches that we have seen, and how customers have started using this product and what kind of benefits did they reap out of this entire operation. So this is about a small this is a case about a ball mill. So when the remote monitoring center, while the monitoring was happening, they saw that the temperature of a ball bearing was slightly increasing. So the first action, as I was suggesting, as per the standard operating procedure, the first action that was directed to the field engineer was to just go and check whether there is any contamination, whether there is any leak, or is the signal that is getting transmitted is correct or not. So basically, it was found during the when this case was made and when this catch was transferred to the local maintenance crew there, it was found that there was a contamination of the oil, and the leak was also happening. There was an oil leak in that particular ball bearing. So what we could do was to prevent an oil change, if the leak continued, and if there was nobody who attended the system, the cost of the oil replacement is something that we could eradicate. And apart from that, the bigger part of the story is the collateral damage would have been onto the bearing, which would have costed much more. So a very, very basic case where the system was pushing the operations and the maintenance crew to go and check and standardize the CBM practices, condition-based practices at site. So this was one. Again, this is another case that I just wanted to bring in front of every one of you. Uh, uh, again, so uh, again, as I was telling, it is not always changing the equipment. It is not always uh, taking out the equipment when the potential failure has come. So in this particular claim, what we have seen is the OMR was, the overall model residual was higher, and we could understand that there is a damage which has just crept into the bearing system, and the vibration was on a higher side. We just but over a period, when we over a couple of days, when we saw that the vibrations are not increasing, the vibrations, while they are above the acceptable level, the vibrations are not exponentially growing. So what the decision that the maintenance crew has taken there was to wait till the next production cycle, planned maintenance cycle, and continuously monitor that equipment on day-to-day basis, so that the overall objective of the annual, or the overall objective of achieving the annual business plan, is also met. At the same time, we are not losing on the equipment. If as the bearing fail, the vibrations are sustained, hence that decision could have been taken. So I just thought it is also a use case that I wanted to present in front of every one of you. This we have already explained. I'll just briefly, while it has nothing to do with mining and mineral industry, it's about a pump. It's about a normal centrifugal pump, which is a common equipment across all the industries. Again, a very, very useful case. It's basically a boiler feed pump in one of the power generating stations, where it is observed that the bearing vibrations have started picking up, while the vibrations have not touched the alarm level or trip level. We have just observed that it is exponentially increasing, unlike in the earlier case where the bearing vibrations have sustained. In this case, the bearing vibrations were exponentially increasing. So the system actually pushed the operation crew to inform the maintenance team there, and subsequently, once that intervention happened with the maintenance team, it was observed that the entire shim pack was on the verge of failure. And this equipment being very, very cost intensive, had that failure happened, we could have ended up replacing the entire impeller. So we got a lot of appreciation from the maintenance crew there, and they wanted us to involve and extend the entire case for multiple assets. So I just thought I'll just leave a snippet of it. So predominantly, this was what I was planning to present. I'll be very, very happy to take any questions if there are. Over to you, Ekta.
Thank you, Pradeep, for sharing lovely insights. So, do we have any questions?
Yes, ma'am. I have one question. Pradeep, right now the industry, as when we are implementing the digital, mainly you have talked on the software side, but what the industries are facing, the problem is right now, we have the machine which are old, and where to fit the sensor, which type of sensor is required to fit it on the machine to get the data. And second problem we are facing, the infrastructure requirement. So nowadays the main problem is that to fit the sensor on the machine and get the data from the machine, infrastructure costing and all the stuffs are there. So how to address the AVR? As Pradeep and Varun, as you said, how you people are addressing that issue?
I'm very thankful that you're asking this question. It's actually a very genuine problem, especially with industries where the very mature industries where the asset life is longer, and we have seen that they have lived at least 60-70% of their life. So there are two steps of this problem. One is identifying the correct set of instrumentation that is needed, which are not currently available. So what we have seen out of our experience is what we have done is we have kind of developed a templates across various categories of equipment. If you just if you ask me if there is a reciprocating compressor, and if I want the list of tags or a list of instrumentation that we would want, we have developed it with specific subject matter expert, and we can also suggest what kind of instrumentation is needed based upon our experience. So that kind of feasibility is there. That's one. Second, I take your point, sir. See, replacement versus repair is always a challenging question to address. There are a lot of factors that we have to consider before we take that shot.
And second problem is there regarding infrastructure, because it's a huge cost to capture collect the data from the machine and then send it to the server and get the data visualized on your dashboard or tablets. We are facing a lot of issues.
I tend to agree. I don't deny that there is a lot of cost involved in developing the server, but it's if you ask me, if it is kind of inevitable, because if we don't do that, we will never probably understand the potential of it's just about it's a choice that we are making, whether I have to spend that money today on developing that infra, or am I planning to postpone that expenditure and spend that money maybe after 6 months on a failure. So it's if you ask me, that's how I look at it. And I was particularly part of such initiatives, and I have done it hands-on. That's why I'm telling you, and it yields. The companies who have taken that shot of spending money on developing that infra, they have taken the benefit. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, that's I think what you are saying is okay. But when we are developing the new machine, we are thinking IoT based type of machine where the sensor installed early stage, not on the later stage when the space is not there and the collection of the data is we have not think of. But nowadays, which you have the older machines, we are facing that issue in old machines mainly, where the life is not over and management is not ready to change or replace the machine.
In that case, increasing the instrumentation for that machine would be the best choice, sir. That's the only thing. And again, with minimum instrumentation, we have seen that there are a lot of use cases. We don't have to increase the instrumentation very drastically. You just have to pick up a few parameters that you really want to monitor, and that will, I'm pretty sure that will yield a lot of value.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly what Pradeep has said. That only I want to actually repeat that. In our case also at EQBX, whenever we go to implement solutions, there are many vital machines which the manufacturer says that I don't want to replace it as yet. And anyway, machine is giving output. So there we put those minimum sensors and we are able to take so that's not a big deal, sir. I mean, that can be managed.
In that case, your team will support the manufacturers and the organization to get how to get the data and first what type of structure.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was telling you. We are end-to-end implementers. So that's where this comes in handy. We are also strong in the hardware area and the software. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hitesh, for your questions. And now moving to a very interesting part, another interesting part of the session is the discussion on the racing towards a digital future in metals and mining. And there are a few parameters that I had mentioned that we would like our speakers to cover, was the benefits of being early adopters of Industry 4.0, unique barriers to digital adoption and unique opportunities, ensuring AI and IoT initiatives to ensure data readiness, building a holistic view of the entire operations through digitization. And now I would request our speakers into the panel to cover these points and share your thoughts on the subject. So I'm happy to introduce our panel speakers, Mr. Ankit Jain, Deputy GM, Industrial Engineering, Shyam Metallics and Energy Limited. Mr. Naveen Nathani is the General Manager, IT and Transformation, Aditya Birla Group, Hindalco Industries. Mr. Hitesh Dukar, Production and Technology Cell, SSD, Jindal Steel and Power Limited. Mr. Sanjeev Das, Executive Vice President, Mines, Jindal Steel and Power Limited. Dr. Ganesh Vishwakarma is Ex-Director, Projects Business Planning, Steel Authority of India. And we also have Mr. Anup, who handles Marco. So thank you all the speakers for being here today with us. So Mr. Naveen, I would like to start with Mr. Naveen and invite his thoughts on the subject. Over to you, Mr. Naveen.
Thanks, Ekta. And I think I've been hearing all the great conversations that have been happening in terms of how digitization is really enabling the future. And Sanjeev also spoke a couple of practical challenges that all of us within our organizations are kind of facing when it comes to environment, digitization, and the kind of legislations that are coming in, from the government. So I think, I would say that the approach that we have adopted at Aditya Birla Group at Hindalco Industries has always been very proactive, and it has always been a digital-led first approach, where we have always try to kind of see that how can we ensure that some parameters such as safety, efficiency are uncompromisable. And therefore, in that direction, I think Industry 4.0 and some of the digitization efforts that we have undertaken have shown us remarkable efficiency and improvement, specifically across projects in the metals and the mining business that is there. I would carve out a couple of examples specifically that we have done because we are the leaders in aluminium and we operate the entire value chain from upstream to downstream businesses, right from ironing out bauxite to converting it into a molten metal and then putting it into downstream processes, which is basically for usage in pharma industry, in the food and the beverages business, and many other areas that are there. One of the key components that we have always kind of looked at is how do we improve the efficiency of the smelters within our operating plants that is there. And therefore, when we kind of talk about these smelters, think about these large pots that dish out the molten metal or the hot metal that we call it in our terminology. So we have got a numerous number of pots ranging in thousands across various plants. And therefore, one of the big challenges that we always had was how do we kind of improve the efficiency of all these plants or all these pots, which would, despite having a similar raw material, would not give us the same amount of current efficiency that is there. And therefore, on those lines, we put together a machine learning based digital twin solution that helped us to identify variability factors in our current efficiency and also recommended how can we improve the efficiency without compromising on other metrics. And this efficiency, which has been in the range of 100 to 200 basis points, has significantly shown a huge return on investment across these spots, resulting in a good top line growth. So this is just one example that I have shared, and I think to a certain extent, I would say that there is a huge amount of effort that one needs to drive specifically when it comes to improving the capital efficiency, because we are talking about working capital within our organization, which is quite limited, and there's always a justification measure that is there. So therefore, it's very important that you have got a good management support. You know what are the challenges and how will you tackle those challenges. You're very clear on what is the business case, because that would really fundamentally drive the solution. As we heard in the with some of the speakers who came in previously, there are multiple solutions available, but at the end of the day, what really kind of fits into and addresses a significant amount of your challenges would really be the winner that is there. So I would ask that be very clear in terms of identifying your problem statement. Do a dipstick when it comes to understanding who your stakeholders are. Today, your stakeholders are not just limited to the subject matter experts. It's the executive team, the management team, the board of directors, who will play a very crucial role in carving out the scalability of that solution. So I would say that it has been a great change, game-changing direction for us at Hindalco Industries. We have significantly taken a large steps towards moving from a POC stage to now embarking on a vision towards deploying it across all the plants and factories, specifically the digital solutions that are there. And um, and we will continue to kind of hear what are some of the latest game changing technologies which would really impact us. While AI is a loosely used term that we all use within our organizations, but let's be very clear in terms of how would that solution really impact us, because at the end of the day, it's all about customer expectations. It's all about game changing customer expectations, which everyone is striving for. And if you are able to make that shift, you will always be able to get more and more customers who would be inclined towards buying a product. So those are a couple of cents that I would pass on, Ekta.
Thank you, Mr. Naveen, for sharing insights.
Very
Uh,
enlightening. Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you
Mr.
very much.
Ranu, anything that you would want to add
No,
on?
no, Mr. Naveen has really given a very good snapshot of the benefits that this kind of a technology brings into. And using a digital twin is such a fantastic thing. I mean, I would say that is one of the straightest way in which one can clearly measure your efficiency. You know that where you are making an error, and immediately you can take an action. So very nicely put. Thank you very much, Naveen.
Thanks, Anup. Thank you.
Thank you. So now may I invite the thoughts of Mr. Ankit? Like, what do you have to say about this, sir?
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I like to thank you to the panels to inviting me. I do agree with what Mr. Naveen was saying. We should first define what is the problem statement. Accordingly, we have to find the solution, because one solution doesn't fit all. So that is the today it is very are coming, and but we have to be very cautious what fits our requirement, what will solve our purpose. And we have to see if we have to one side we have to be very particular about us choosing the solution. Second side, we have to also see how we can this skill we have to deploy to our employees. We have to democratize the digitalization process with a mass. Until it becomes a mass movement, it will not be accepted. It doesn't mean people should be everyone is working on developing a solution, but once a solution is deployed, how to interfere the information, how to get the information, and inside how it should be used is also very critical. So when we see now every company is working on the digitalization thing, and everyone is having its own journey. All are on a different place, and distillation, when we see distillation, I see there are 4 steps to it. One is we have to see all the information are being gathered, being analyzed, and then we can see what went wrong, why it went wrong. All these things should have we can do to perform to take a long-term preventive action. Second thing is we will get the real-time alerts, real-time problem identification once, so that we can take the corrective action immediately and plan for this thing. And third is we have to preventive thing, where slowly once the data bank reaches, we can predict the future, we can predict the failures, what is going to fail. And third level is prescriptive level, where it should also describe what should be done. So my point is we have to be first of all, we have to be very specific what is the problem we are trying to solve, and based on that we have to select the solution, and we have to make it mass movement. These are the 2 things we should be working to make it successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ankit, for sharing your thoughts. I would like to invite Mr. Sanjeev Das' thought on the topic that we were talking. He has just joined. Yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody, and once again. And it's a very interesting subject that is going on, and we had a very wonderful presentation from Abiba. But as I would like to continue from where I left, the fundamental precincts on which this kind of digitization of mining exercise happens is only for the good of the promoter as well as the workers. So currently, as you will look at it, besides the advantages that we get in terms of process management, the resource allocations, the compliance management, the safety features, transportation monitoring, and equalization of resources in terms of vibration monitoring, as well as for underground severing and LHD and LPDT movements. So these are areas which will always be very important for mining industry. Currently, with the kind of the bite for the last bit of rupee that we are talking about, as we are all in terms of premium paying economies, premium paying mining companies, and every holistic solutions should come out, and I'm sure that digitization and digital digitalization would certainly help it, because there's a lot of process improvement. 100% compliance monitoring is possible. Transparency will be 100% if you do digitalization. And in terms of the monitoring of the government setup, the regulations for dispatches, the royalty payments, the premium, the DMF payments, all of that, plus the environmental issues that have been imposed on us, everything needs digitalization. In the fundamental place, the AQ stations, they are all now getting connected to the state pollution control boards. The water is getting connected to the central pollution control board as well as the state pollution control board network. So everything is fundamentally getting connected to a website in MOEF, the state pollution control boards, the user agencies, the public at large. So with this kind of a large scale digitalization which is going on, it is very important that whether irrespective of the mine size and the nature of the mines or the kind of product that you are making, I mean the mining, it becomes incumbent on us that we are all looking at digitalization, whether it is in small shape or in a larger scale. But the question in India is, I have a fundamental question to all people sitting here, that when we have 75% of the mines which are smaller in size and 25% of the mines which are large in size or extra large in size, which can afford this cost of digitalization, would digitalization be economically viable for 75%? Is it really a marketable solution? Number two issue, with the kind of labor force that we have and the labor laws that we are governed with, how do we ensure that our labor laws are also getting grind into the system, whether it is a small one or a big one, big mine? These are fundamental issues which will come up at a later stage, which will become necessary for us to debate whether we can afford, whether affordability is a big question, and how affordability has to be increased for the kind of size of mines that we have. It is not Australia, it is not Queensland, it is not South Africa, it is not Kazakhstan, it is India, and therefore India has its own peculiarity. That's all I would like to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev, for sharing your thoughts. Now, can I invite Mr. Hitesh Dugar to please share your insights on the subject?
It's good to be here and meet you all in this session. It's an honor to get this opportunity to share my experience. Actually, I have not worked in the mining and metal industry, but I have experienced in digital transformation in the fabrication industries, and I would like to share something for that. So as Ankit said earlier, that the main problem we have faced or challenge we have faced during the digital transformation, the people acceptance, means people are not ready to accept the transformation, means they are too rigid and don't want to change. So it is very difficult phase how to take these people in the team. So during that journey, we have make the collaborative teams, like from IT, from the maintenance, from the users. So let them sit together and brainstorm the define the problem statement and define the solution, and let them work together. So acceptability is the main what we can say that the problem today in the implementation of digitization or digital transformation. So in case of the workers, like I can share that when we are implementing the IoT station, the productivity is going to double. But the main problem in the workers' mind that if the IoT will implement, they will remove us, or they will get the data, and no more worker will be recruited in the organization. So that kind of problem we have faced during this kind of journey. So that is what I can share. And the digitization part, we have improved a lot in digitization. We have converted many manual papers in the form of the tablets or in the form of the digitize and make the online systems where we get the capture the data from like reports, inspection reports on the directly on the inspection done on the tablets and directly sent to the server, and all the data are available to the inspector on their disk cabin. So all the things are going and helping a lot, and also increase the efficiency of the supervisors, workers. And I tell you that we actually get the efficiency output 30% rise in our productivity. So that's the main what we can say, the help the digitalization or digital transformation in the industries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hitesh, for sharing your insights. So before I move on, Mr. Mr. Naveen, there was a question for you on the chat box by Ms. Nilima. I'll just read it out. She mentions question to Mr. Naveen. Any use cases around monitoring WCM and improving customer experience implemented at your organization? Mr. Naveen. Mr. Naveen, you there? Okay.
Hey, maybe Naveenji doesn't. You are on mute, huh, Naveenji? If you're there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, maybe he must be in the call or something. Yeah.
Yeah, we can take the question maybe later.
Yeah.
Because it's a practical.
Yeah, I also saw somebody raising hands. Any questions you want to ask to the panel speakers? Meanwhile, Mr. Naveen will answer. Okay.
So what we can do is we can take up the answer in the mail also. We can get back to Mr. Naveen, ask him and get back to you, ma'am. So that also we can do. So Ekta, we can move to the next speaker. If Acha, it was Mr. Naveen only.
Yeah, we have covered all the speakers. So anything that's left, Anup, and you would want to ask the speakers or any insights that you would want to bring it out from them.
Yeah.
Dr. Ganesh said he will join in a while. Yeah.
Okay. So we also have one of the users that we have Mr. Siddiqui and Mr. Pradeep Mahajan. Now they both have been using this platform in Hindustan Zinc Limited. So I don't know if they would like to share something. But I still remember when we were discussing one fine day. So what they have done is they have used this. They are predicting the quality of the ore which they are extracting from the mine, and they are feeding the data directly to the digester. Through that, what they have done is they were able to create very high efficiency of the metal outputs. So that was one of the use case with the generative. It was one of the very everyone was clapping for about that when they were discussing it in the in a Aviva event. And so what happens is whenever we are using kind of any kind of a digitalization platform, it is the creativity of the organization which really brings the benefits out. So one cannot say that once data is implemented, digitalization is implemented, Aviva solution is implemented, everything goes gung-ho. No, it is the organization's agility to look at what is there. What we do is we only facilitate. We are facilitators in between. We are, let's say, give us the tool. So a laptop is usable only to the extent we wish to use it. You know, that kind of a thing is that.
I have a small question.
Yes, Mr. Sanjeev.
There are two things basically. One is if you look at the structural issue of underground mining, and I'm specifically talking about that. There are many examples like Hindustan Zinc has done, as well as there is a company in Eastern Orissa, Imfa has done. Tatas are looking for those kind of options. Backfilling plant monitoring, because the moment you have completed and exhausted a particular stope, you need to backfill it with either glue or you have a sand mixture, or you have cement and slurry, and that has a particular limit of settlement. All of these are not very cost effective, because it's almost 20% of your material cost, because you stope out material and then fill it up. Paste filling is also very expensive, as you know. So the question is, there lot many times there is an over spillage of items, and then water is taken out and it is drained to a particular sump because water is already pre-mixed. Now there is some technology which I don't know if that somebody can develop that kind of technology to monitor what is the seepages that is going to happen in conjunction with Simfer, who has designed the entire structure, or otherwise, and say that without physical monitoring, we can monitor that the levels at which the stoppings, the backfilling is done, starting from the point of automation, the point at which it starts, to the stopping point and filling up to the roof. That would really make a lot of difference to the kind of experience that people are having across India. Let me tell you that, number one. Number two, beneficiation per se is also a big challenge. Now we tend to extract only 70% of what we beneficiate. But I'm told a little process improvement, little digitalization, would really make it even 10% if you increase it. We recover the entire cost of the automation, the entire innovation. Absolutely. So even if I made a calculation, not even 10%, if you do 6.5%, you still recover the entire cost. So if those kind of things, if you can, somebody can think and recommend, that will really help the industry.
Actually, Sanjeev sir, when we try to say that, or when we try to bring that out, somehow, we are being looked at in a very, very different way. I'll give you a small example. In ITC, we are implementing IT solution in a paper machine, and they used to have losses because of they call it this binding issue on the paper. They used to get wastage of the paper coming out. We reduced it during the just POC. We reduced it by 80%. Now you can imagine a company like ITC Papers, which has a turnover 5,000 plus crores, by just reducing this paper wastage by 80%, we were able to give back the organization their output from one machine increased by 500 tons and 50,000 rupees per ton paper cost, because they make some very expensive paper. So it was
fabulous.
Even they were surprised, even we were surprised. Now, when they asked us, can you do that in all the 5 machines we had to say that that's not possible. We don't know. Once the solution comes in, when everything is available to you, you can have a look at it yourself. But that's where our, we don't have, like, Mr. Sandeep, if you come and join us, for example, and we put the solution there, and you as an experienced person talks to us in that language, yes, we can come back with the exact quantities. But problem is, we don't know too much about your industry. You will not know too much about the IT industry.
Yeah,
so,
true.
Yeah, that is the place where, the gray area happens. Even I want to give you ROIs, fantastic ROIs I can present. But the moment we make it in our company, our MD says...
It has to be a handshake where,
Yeah. So my MD only says that don't put that.
This has to be a very different handshake.
Yeah.
This has to be a good handshake, because this industry is so regulated today. Approvals are easy, but regulations are too many. The MMR 1961 got amended. The MMDR is getting amended every now and then. The MCR is getting amended. Yeah. The kind of regulations that are coming in place are tightening the entire loop along EU. It is very important that monitoring it would actually need a lot of digitalization, and I strongly believe in that. Whether we like it or not, every mining industry is sooner or later going in. Even though they are doing this contractual mining, engaging MDOs. Even the MDOs have to do it now. There is no choice left.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, digitization means trying to get benefit out of where you are at present. It never tells you to take a step forward. You know, that's where we at times make a mistake of thinking that what we are doing is we are trying to make a step forward. We are not.
Correct. I agree with you.
Yeah, we are just catching watches. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a very interesting subject. It is very close to my heart, but I am having to rush to a site for some urgent work.
Yeah.
So I'm not able to continue further. Thank you, everybody, for
no problem, sir. I will reconnect you with the eCubix team very soon.
Sure, sir. Sure.
And thank you, everyone, for making me a part of you all and giving me an opportunity to speak. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sanjeev. So, thank you, Mr. Sanjeev. So, Mr. Anup and other speakers, we had one question coming in from Nilima. She has opened up to everyone. Any specific initiative which has made a direct impact on operators' delight? Like anybody can answer, Mr. Naveen, Mr. Ankit, Mr. Hitesh.
I would like, see, if I speak and I have a lot of such stories. We are doing it very often. And if, let me tell you, if operator is not happy, the solution doesn't work. Let me tell you very frankly, anywhere it has worked. We have worked in 120 industries. And in some industries, they have received an award. For example, Dr. Reddy's got an award for being one of the best producer of medicine. They got it out of the digitalization which they did. But it was the operator who ended up applying it, and the results were there. So obviously, so that is as far as I go to. So operators delight, and operators are happily working. They have much more, peaceful life now after digitalization. That I can say. We have not removed any of them. In fact, if at all there is, we have only increased them because the profitability have allowed new people to be absorbed in this area. But over to others.
Sir, I will share one of the experience of my past company. So where we have implemented these IoT stations, where the operator will get the benefit, and now they ask to do more in other area also. So I will share that one that I worked in L&T Heavy Engineering, where we are welding the job around 11-meter diameter with the 300 degrees centigrade temperature. So it is very difficult to operator to sit on the station and perform the welding. They are not able to perform more than 3 hours. But with the help of this, we have sit together. We have noted down all the problems like ergonomics, what problem they are facing. Then to bring the flux and welding consumables on the station, taking around 1.5 hours, and it is very difficult to climb on the station. So we have designed the station where they get where we have fitted the ACs. And to prevent this heat come to the station, we have put the forced air curtain, and also we have given the fully automated one IPC or PC, where whatever they want, they can get by making the entry on the store, on the maintenance team, and also we have given the one panel to operate all the equipment like power source, the torch, and the what we can say that the heaters, all the things we have given in the one switch. So it is easy to them to do the work. So earlier they are doing the welding around 3 to 4 hours, and now they are performing 7 to 8 hours continuously without any problem with the environment. So I can say that we have doubled the productivity actually, and we also get the benefit to earlier if they are performing the activity in 3 hours or hitting take place around 8 hours where the 5 hours is idle, and this work we are completed within 2 shifts or 3 shifts, which are going to take 3 days. So we are also getting the benefit of the losses. We are preventing the losses in the CNG gases prices, all the stuffs. So after that, we have started with one station. After getting the benefit, we have deployed 45 plus stations there. So this is the what we can say the operators delight, and now they are asking. They have asked to do in other area also, like in the rolling machine, in the what we can say, the long sea welding station, like that kind of thing they are asking. So they have supported a lot.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hitesh. Mr. Naveen is here. Mr. Naveen, we had one question from you from Ms. Nilima.
Yeah, guys, I was just in an urgent call.
I know worries. We
Sure,
understand.
please.
So she had asked any use cases around monitoring WCM and improving customer experience implemented at your organization.
See, regarding WCM and the world-class manufacturing, I would say the way we have structured internally is we've got a manufacturing center of excellence within the organization that is primarily responsible for deploying all the key digital and data transformation initiatives that are there, which means building together metrics that are more focused on efficiency, performance, and customer expectations. So we have built some metrics on those lines, and we then integrate it, along with our other sales and marketing KPIs that are there. So the way we have carved it out is that we have got holistically about some 60 plus KPIs that we assess every plant upon for world-class manufacturing, which enables us, better visibility and insights into plant performance, asset performance, critical assets, efficiency, energy optimization, and many other metrics. And the list can go on and on that is there. And regarding customer expectations, prima facie we are morely a B2B business rather than a B2C business, I would say. And therefore, we take significant amount of efforts to see that how can we free up a lot of the additional cost that a customer would incur because of logistics, because of because of the quality issues, etc. So we do emphasize a lot on customer first as the very important principle, and every action is directed towards improving that. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, she is thanking me for taking that question. Thank you, Mr. Naveen. So, Mr. Anup, Dr. Ganesh is here with us, and we missed his insights. So, nevertheless, Mr. Ganesh, we have been taking insights from various speakers on racing towards the digital future. Like, what are the benefits of being early adopters, in the MMM industry? So, your insights on the subject, and Anup, anything specific that you would want to ask him? Yeah.
Yeah, firstly, I'm extremely sorry for being away. In fact, I had a very, very important meeting, so I just could wind it up. And I really apologize for, not being there throughout. However, I do have a lot of experience with mostly the projects in the steel plants. Initially, I did listen to part of your discussions. So I was very eager to add to it. If you see the digital transformation requirement in the MM industry, definitely it's nothing new. It's been there for a pretty long time, and it is appreciated, still appreciated. But unfortunately, we have to go a long way. In spite of being there for the last more than 20 years, you can say. Especially, we have been talking about digital transformation in many areas. Especially one of the speakers, if I recall, was also talking about the mines. And another speaker just said, okay, yeah, most of the equipment are same, it is the same. But I really, I say, no, it is not. Mines is an entirely different game, altogether different. The name may be the same, but the size, the volume, the environment in which they work, the situations are entirely different. And not only that, even the mines, if it is an established plant, may it be a steel plant or an aluminum plant or any manufacturing plant, being based to the close vicinity of a city, their availability of spares is quite easy. But if you see the mines, they are remotely placed, and getting a small spare part is also very, very difficult. Getting it and then stocking too many spare parts. Again, if you see, we started with the analytics and others. Yes, if you hold too much of spare parts, still you cannot say that you will be able to do away with all your breakdowns. But always it happens, whatever spares you have, they are not required. The breakdown takes place with a spare which is not available with you. unfortunately, if you see. So I mean, I think we are running out of time, or rather, I was late. I'd invite, I mean, if anybody has very specific questions regarding steel plants or projects or something of that sort, I'll be very happy to address those. Because most of the things I think during my absence, I think must have been covered.
Do we have any questions from the audience coming in?
Thank you, Mr. Ganesh. Very rightly said that it is 20 years since this has been implemented, IT. But yes, we still have a long way to go. And when it comes to predictive solutions, no, I find not many people have embraced it to the core as yet. So we have Tata Power who have done it. They did it one project. They took around 150 machines, I think, critical. I don't know if Pradeep, would you know that? How many machines were put under critical care there, and then later on they also are now coming up with a second level project, no?
Correct. There are around 120 assets. Not asset classes, assets.
Assets, yeah. And now on the second phase, I think they will be doing double of them, around 200 odd plus.
Yes.
I read in the newspaper.
Yes, they're expected to. They're expected to.
Expected to.
Yeah.
So when it comes to really using the data, see, it's very nice when the data comes to your laptop. You feel very good. You feel very, I would say, anxiety control aa jata hai hamara. We know that we know everything what is happening. But what about the corrective actions? And that's where I find that the organization's initiative and that deep culture in the organization that comes to play. And that is where I think is the gray area, at least for when it comes to India, sir. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but when we sit and implement things, we have realized some people take huge advantages. There are others who just find it, okay, good enough. Thank you very much. It's more of that. Yeah, please, over to you, Mr. Ganesh.
Yeah, you have very rightly said. If you see, collecting of all this data actually started with this industry 3.0, sometime at least 25 to 30 years ago, where we implemented a lot of computerization, instrumentation, and this and that. And over a period of time, we have been storing so much of historic data. We have data for the entire life cycle of very critical equipment, or the equipment which lasts for a lifetime, you can say 20, 30, 35 years life jo hota hai, uska bhi right from day one till it is scrapped. We have all the data. But the unfortunate part is that nobody has really tried to analyze, to dig into it, to find out what that data can tell us. The same repetitive type of breakdowns take place. Same everything. I mean, most of the time, as we talk about predictive maintenance, you say even a small bearing also. Bearing is the same for everywhere, you can say. Everybody knows the theory of bearing and the use and everything else. But if you say, can you have a prediction of the failure of a bearing? We try to monitor so many things, whether it's the temperature or speed or vibration. In spite of doing all of them, still a bearing fails. That means we have the data, but some insight has to be found. So to really find out exactly why it happens. One of the most important is the situation in which the environment in which it operates. If you see a very small example, even your hard disk, we have a bearing there. Have you ever heard of a bearing failure in a hard disk? But if the same bearing, a different size of bearing being used in different equipments, for every now and then, or the most common failure is a bearing failure. In being relevant or not, but if you see, these are the places from where you can get so much of data. In a steel plant, since I have been in a steel plant, I can tell you, we have so much of data at every place, but we really lack, or rather we really require some hand holding where we can analyze this data and come out with it. So no doubt tools are available. We do hire a lot of consultants who come and try to help us out. But honestly speaking, it is still a long way to to really find solution to our problem.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Thank you. So Ekta, we can, if you wish, we can
Yes.
close. Yeah.
So I think we had a wonderful insights coming in from all these thought leaders. And thank you, Anup, for moderating the panel along with me. On that closing note, again, thanking all the speakers and the audience for taking out your time and being here. Thank you for the interesting questions. We shall be sharing the entire session tomorrow over an email, thanking you all for joining us. And we would love to reconnect you with the eCubix team for one-on-one session where they would like to give showcase their solutions and products, how they're helping the MMM industry to grow and at what pace. So we shall be reaching you again. And thank you once again. Have a nice weekend, everyone, and stay safe.
And thank you again for joining. So many people who could not, who are in the background. I thank all of them to be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.